Hello everyone, welcome back. Part 5, Japanese MN. That's my pause button. Okay, so what we have here is Saisho no asa. This one, sho here kind of means like, yeah, first, the very first. And sai means like most, basically. So it's like the most first or the very first. That's kind of funny actually. Saisho, because arguably you could, well, you might think you could have this on its own. Hajimete no asa. Anyway, in this case, yeah, saisho no asa. Asa just meaning morning. This no just linking the this to this noun. Saisho. Yeah. What do you use sai with? Sai aku? Sai aku means like the very worst, I suppose. Sai ko would mean like the very best. So this sai here just kind of means, yeah, the most of something. Saisho no asa. The most first morning, I suppose. Ato. Ato sometimes kind of means like later. Yeah, later or after or behind. But often when it's used with like time, amounts of time like this, it kind of means that this much remains. So it means like remaining 70 ni jikan, and jikan just means hours. So yeah. So, you know, it gets translated into English quite well as 72 hours remaining. But obviously with Japanese, you put ato first. You put like the word that kind of means remaining first and then the time period. I suppose maybe you could see ato as meaning in 72 hours. But yeah, perhaps that's not such a good idea actually. Okay, and then we just have Kuroku Town, and then Minami, just meaning south. Yeah, Clock Town South. Let's go. Oh! Oh! Oh, never mind. I thought she was going to skip the text box automatically there. So she's going, bikkuri shita. So this is just a noise. Bikkuri shita kind of means... It kind of means when you're shocked or surprised in kind of a negative way, kind of a bad way, I suppose. Bikkuri. Often, I've heard many people. I've heard people say this when something makes them jump. It's bikkuri shita, but obviously I suppose, oh, maybe she could mean that. Maybe upon seeing the mask salesman, you know, she kind of jumped because she obviously, you know, she knows that he should have beef with her, I suppose. They've done bad things to him, right? So she probably was a bit shocked. But yeah, bikkuri shita. This is like a form of suru, as I said before. Like you kind of attach suru to certain words to make them into verbs. And as I said, suru kind of means do sometimes, but it doesn't mean I do or I did shocking or anything. Sometimes it can mean like it just means that something happened. So in this case, I guess it's that sort of vibe. It's like, you know, a shocked feeling happened. I suppose you could kind of translate it as a shocked feeling happened to her upon seeing the masked salesman. And then she's saying, Ano toki no omenya dattanda. Ano toki, just meaning, as we've said before, like ano means like a something that is kind of quite distant. And so like ano toki means like that time, ages ago, or kind of a distant memory, I suppose you could maybe see it as like ano toki, that time's mask salesman. And then datte is just like the past tense of the declarative or whatever. So like it was, I suppose you could see it as, even though it functions a bit differently, your best translation is to see it as, you know, it was that time's mask salesman. And then the unda, this is kind of like explanatory language, kind of insisting on something. But usually when people say unda like this, they're talking to themselves, because it's kind of, you'll see people use this kind of unda and noda and stuff with other people in games and anime and media, but in real life people are rarely this forward and this kind of, not rude, it would be taken to be rude, but people are more roundabout and more considerate of others to be using this. So normally when people say this in real life, it's sort of when they've realised something themselves and are kind of just saying it out loud because now they understand something. So she's, in this case, yeah, she is kind of talking to herself. She's going, oh, it was that time's mask salesman, which is obviously a pretty bad translation, but there you go. And then, just to kind of prove that, she's saying, iya kochi no hanashi yo. Iya just kind of means like no, or never mind, or sort of dismissive. Most people will kind of say iya if they want to say no to a question or something. Yeah, it kind of means no, basically. Yeah, but in this case, I suppose kind of no, never mind. And then kochi, meaning this way, towards me, not hanashi. Not just, linking kochi to hanashi, and hanashi just meaning kind of meaning speech or story or thing to discuss. So she's kind of just saying, oh no, never mind. This is my thing that I'm talking about. This is my story, my tale, I guess. No need to share it with us. And then she just says yo at the end. This is very feminine. If she was a male, or if she wanted to, you'd kind of say kochi no hanashi dayo. Men don't generally omit the da. But so yeah, this sounds very feminine. So if you're not a woman, maybe don't copy this. Yeah, let's carry on. Shikash mikada nante. Oh damn! I don't remember this. Is that isui? Maybe isui. It is. Okay, good. Isui. Isui mo shinakute mo 72 jikan shika nai janai. Okay, so shikash. You should probably pronounce this as shikashi, actually. I just always tend to default to saying these like an SH sound rather than an SHI sound. But that might sound weird in places, so I'm probably in a minority by pronouncing it like that. Shikashi. Anyway, that just means like however or but. I don't really hear people saying this nowadays, so it might be sort of older language, like in the time when Zelda's set and stuff. Or it just, I don't know, yeah, or it just might never be formal enough of a situation for people to say this. I don't know, but you see it a lot in Zelda, but I haven't heard it a lot in real life, to be honest. Mika, just meaning 3 days. Mika da nante. I remember trying to explain this in Ocarina of Time, actually, I think. Nante kind of expresses disbelief at the thing that comes before it. So let's go over the rest of it first, I suppose. Mikada nante isui. Isui is like my dictionary here says a wink of sleep. And it says usually in a negative sentence, not even a wink of sleep sort of thing. So isui mo shinakute mo. So even if we don't sleep for even a single wink, is kind of what's going on there. I said before that mo is kind of inclusive, and in that way it means, it can also mean even, I guess. Yeah, because it's kind of inclusive, it can mean even this amount. So that's quite useful to know, I suppose. Isui mo shinakute mo. So even if not even a single wink of sleep. This is funny though, shinakute mo. Because it sort of suggests that you suru this amount rather than sleeping this amount, like we would obviously have to say in English. It suggests that you might. No, I'm not sure. Not really sure why this is suru here. It could mean that if we endeavour to not even do a single wink of sleep. I'm not really sure. But basically it's, you know, even if we not even a single wink of sleep, 72 hours, and then this is a good grammar point. This is quite useful to be able to use. Shika nai. So this shika is basically, it's always used with negative verbs. And it's used to express that is all that there is. There is nothing but this. So nanaju nijikan shika nai. So kind of like other than, except for 72 hours, there is nothing. So there is only 72 hours. And you actually often get that with verbs like for example, like ganbaru shikanai, maybe. It's like there is nothing to do except for ganbaruing, or, you know, sort of persevering through, pulling through. There is no other option than to do that. So yeah, always with negative. Nanaju nijikan shikanai. There is absolutely nothing except for 72 hours. And then the janai at the end is just, again, it's that kind of double negative rhetorical question thing. Is like, isn't it the case that there is only 72 hours? Or I suppose with shika being negative, it's like, isn't it the case that there is nothing but 72 hours? And obviously not actually expecting a response to that. It's not asking a question, it's just kind of, yeah, expressing something. So yeah, nante, it's just kind of going, it's sort of, in this case, it's kind of saying like a mere 3 days. Like, what can we do with a measly 3 days? Kind of, yeah, that's not too bad, I don't think. It's kind of expressing a disappointment, or what did I say before? Expressing disbelief or disappointment, or that sort of vibe at whatever it's attached to. Right, let's continue. I get a bit too much into these, I think. Katte koto yu wa ne. Katte koto yu wa ne. Well, katte means... Katte. katte kind of might translate a little bit to selfishly. My dictionary's kind of saying one's own convenience, one's way. And weirdly, there are other definitions that I don't see. But as an example, if you do something, you'll most often see this in the form of katte. Katte means kind of to do something, deciding to do something like on your own, and then just kind of doing it without kind of checking with people who it involves or who it affects. So it kind of means selfish, I suppose. I remember actually once when I was teaching at a school, temporarily, I just sort of showed myself around, basically. I kind of just wandered about. And I suppose that even itself is kind of katte. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't really like, you know, I didn't sit there and wait to be asked or anything. I just kind of got up and wandered about. And I went to the music room and I was sort of having a little play on that piano and stuff. And then I think one of the teachers like came up and sort of came in. I think they needed me for something. And I used this. I said sort of, you know, katte. I katte came to the music room and was playing the piano. And I was kind of like, you know, sorry about that, katte kite shimatta or whatever, like. So it kind of has that sort of vibe to it. But in this case, katte na koto, I suppose maybe it's the mask salesman said something to us that was kind of, he'd already kind of decided what we were going to do without really asking us. He just kind of forced it on us. Maybe. But I don't know if she's... I think that's what she's referring to. Katte na koto. You are ne. Or could this be talk about selfish things? Maybe she's saying that. Talk about being selfish. It might be that, you know. Maybe it's the thing of being selfish. And then you is like... Talk about being selfish? It might be that. I think it's... It might be that. I'm going to ask, alright? I'm going to ask. Print screen there. Yeah, and then again we've got wa, which is kind of feminine, and then net, which is just that kind of rhetorically seeking agreement kind of thing. Sa boza to shite nai de daiyosei sama ni ai ni iku wa yo. So sa, I guess in this case is a bit like right then, well, sort of vibe to it. Well then. Bozato. I guess that must just mean like slow and kind of sluggish. Oh, bosato. Okay. Yeah, absent-mindedly, vacantly, idly, lazily. So I guess it's just, you know, yeah, don't mess about, like chop chop, get to it, sort of, is what she wants to say. So she's saying don't, yeah, don't slug around. I don't know, bosato. And then we've got this shite I naide. So the I again is being omitted from the middle here. It should be shite I naide. And this is that grammar we covered before, which means to not do something. So it's kind of like, do not be being idle. Do not be being idle is kind of a very clunky translation of that. Dai yosei sama. So yosei is fairy. Dai, I suppose, just kind of means great or grand in this case. And sama just pays mad respect, I suppose, to that person. Dai yosei sama ni. So to, kind of, to the great fairy guy. Can't translate sama. Ai ni iku. So this one means to meet, and this one means go. So go to meet, basically. And this is kind of quite a good grammar point to get the hang of. You can just kind of use the stem of a verb, and then put ni, and then put another verb after it. I think generally it's used with like directions and movement verbs. So this is like go to meet. I ni iku. I remember like when I was in schools and that, often the students would come to sort of get keys for different rooms from like the staff room, and they'd come in and say da 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 da, do a little introduction, say who they are and stuff, and then they'd say I don't know, the music room key, tori ni kimashita, or tori ni kita, or whatever, which means came to take, tori ni kita, or came to get, or whatever. So it's yeah, in that case also it's used with like a direction verb, ni in the middle, and the stem of the verb that you're doing. So yeah. Datte, anta staru kiddo ni aitai n desho? Datte. There was a really good explanation of datte in a video that I'll try to remember to link in the description, by a woman who translates. Can't even remember what was it. I don't want to get her name wrong again. Was it Sarah Moon? Sarah Moon. I might just Google that. I might be really wrong. There is someone here. I think I'm wrong. Never mind that, but there'll be a link in the description, hopefully, to the video, hopefully, or at least the channel. But yeah, datte. I suppose it's used here. It's being used as like to give a reason, like that's because it kind of means here, but it's different to other that's becauses in certain ways, and I'll link it to the video. But she's saying, is it kind of like saying, this is might be a bit like the quote particle, and then this is the declarative of the past text box. I think I might be making this up now, but it might be saying like, saying that is so, and then quoting the last text box in a way. But it basically means, it precedes a reason, basically. It precedes a reason. Datte, anta staru kiddo ni aitai n desho? So you, with the skull kid, or to the skull kid. And then aitai is like desire form of meat, isn't it? Aitai. And then is like inquisitive, and then desho is like right, isn't it? Desho. Yeah, something to just point out is that ni is kind of often used with al in Japanese. So when you say you want to meet someone or whatever, or you're going to meet someone, you say ni al, ni aitai, ni whatever. Although you can say to, but I think it has a slightly different vibe to it, and it kind of means, I think if you use to with al, it means that you both agreed prior to meet. And so you meet with them, whereas ni is doesn't imply that sort of that you both meant to meet each other, maybe. Daiyosei sama wa staru kiddo no koudou gurai subete o mitoshi nandakara. There's a little bit for me to look up there. Basically, the pronunciation of mitosu. Mitosh. Oh, maybe it's not a verb even. Mitoshi. Okay, so daiyosei sama wa. So just this is topic particle, isn't it? Talking about the daiyosei sama, the great fairy. the Skull Kid's like activities, I suppose, his activities and behaviour, and then Gurai, sort of. I think this gives like a minimum amount of something. So it's like the Skull Kid's activities, at the very least, is kind of, I think, what Gurai is doing here. Subete meaning just all. Basically, quite simple. That subete just means all, and then omitoshi. I'm not entirely sure why the honorific's on there, to be honest, but never mind. It is. Mitoshi, it kind of means, this one means to see, and torsu means to sort of to kind of usually it kind of means to pass something through something else, like maybe you put something down a tube, maybe, for example, or you, I don't know, maybe you put something down a corridor, maybe something like that. So it kind of means to see down and through into something, I think. So maybe it's like the Great Fairy, isn't, like, the Great Fairy isn't seeing the Skull Kid, like, physically in the world, but she can sort of peer through space-time and see what the Skull Kid's doing. It might have that sort of vibe. I remember this kind of being used in Wind Waker, I think, when Tetra gives you the stone when you land in the Forsaken Fortress at the first time. And she's saying that she can see everything you're doing through the stone. I think she uses this. That's my most clear memory of this word being used, I think, was that situation. And then nan dakara. Nan, again, basically this is just the sort of explanatory tone that we've seen before. What we've seen before usually is no or n, but because omitoshi is kind of a noun, you have to use na first. So it would become like nano by default, but because it's got da after it, it just becomes nan dakara. So yeah, basically, if you could have noun nano, or you could have verb no. It's like they just have different. It affects the form of this bit. Noun nano, verb no. So you don't. Yeah, you don't use the same one for both, basically. Subete o mitoshi nan dakara, odayose sama wa shitaru kiddo no koudou gurai. Yeah, and as I said, I think this just expresses like the bare, at least kind of means at least his activities she should be able to like see all the time, and then dakara is just like kind of means because. And I suppose in English we would put this at the start. She said we should go and see the Great Fairy, and then this would kind of come at the start in English, and she's, you would say because the Great Fairy can see at least everything what the Skull Kid is doing. So that's what dakara is. Koko dake no hanashi, aitsu daiyose sama ni wa atama ga agaranai no. So koko dake, koko is like here, isn't it? Or I guess maybe here is in between us two, perhaps. Dake just means only, so only here. And then hanashi, story, discussion, spoken thing. So it's like kokotake no hanashi. It's hard to translate using the same forms of all the words, but it's like this is something that I will only say here, kind of vibe. I won't say this, It's like it's a secret that only we share. And then she tells us what that secret is. Aitsu, that POS, that knobhead, that guy. Daiyose sama, the great fairy. Niwa. Niwa is tough. Suppose you could probably mostly just see this as ni, meaning like to the great fairy, and then atama ga agaranai, I guess just means, you know, like his, literally, obviously it kind of means his head does not raise. His head does not raise to the great fairy. But I suppose it kind of means to not be a match for. Yeah, to be no match for. E.g. outclassed in authority, strength, or in debt to. To be unable to act on an equal basis with. Atama ga agaranai. Yeah, and the wa. I think wa here kind of just means... It means to the great fairy in particular, he does not. He is no match for. Yeah, I think that's what wa is doing here, but you could probably just see this as ni. He does not match to the great fairy, or something along those lines. Machi no kitamon no chikaku ni aru hokora ni itte. Machi just meaning like a town or a kind of ward or district. Kind of means village. It's basically just a place. Usually actually probably about the size of a village is machi. I'm just gonna look that up. But usually the place where you live will be subdivided in Japan into, you know, like when I lived out there, I had the city. Well, I had the prefecture, then the city, and then I think it was machi after that. So prefecture, city, machi, and then like then even a subsection of that, and then like my numbered like apartment or whatever, I think. So machi is kind of like the size of about the size of a village, I think. Town, block, neighborhood. Yeah, neighborhood might not be a bad definition. But yeah, anyway, machi no kita mon. So kita is north, mon is a gate. And then, as we said before, chikaku ni aru. Aru is kind of a verb, to exist nearly, to exist closely to the north gate. Kind of don't use chikai, it seems like we would in English. It is close to. Then again, I suppose is a verb in English, kind of. Chikaku ni aru. Hokora, just meaning shrine. Quite simply, I'm just going to leave it at that. Ni ite, this is just that request form of to go. So go to the shrine, closely, nearly existing to the town's north gate. Daiyose sama wa, the great fairy, sono naka ni irasharu wa. So sono just meaning that. So referring to what we were just talking about, she will be inside that. She'll be inside that thing we just discussed. Sono naka ni irasharu. Irasharu is kind of, well, it's sort of what's used with a lot in keigo, I think, instead of iru. I think it means loads of things: to come, to go, or to be somewhere. So yeah, I guess in this case it just means iru, but I'm not sure why she can't just say iru. Maybe it's because the great fairy kind of commands respect. So iru kind of sounds a little bit, you know, standard for someone who commands such respect. So maybe irasharu is a better word. But then also because she's talking to us, she doesn't use the polite ending form of that word. So it's just irasharu to show respect to... I don't know, I'm kind of guessing here, but I guess irasharu is respectful to the great fairy, and she's not saying irashaimasu or whatever because, you know, she's talking to us, so it's kind of casual form of a polite word, which is funny. Bit of guesswork there, but never mind. Oh, we're going to get cutscenes for all the areas, aren't we? Excuse me. Oh, sorry. That was Kuroku Town Kita, which obviously... Kita just means north. Normally, I suppose I would just go and get the fairy and then come here, but we might as well see what the fairies say to us without her. Here we just have Yosei no Izumi. And Yosei meaning fairy, no just linking the nouns, and Izumi meaning fountain. So it's fairy fountain, or kind of becomes possessive in this case, doesn't it? Fairies fountain. Oi! I missed that. Was that just Dayose-sama ga... I'm kind of annoyed about that actually. I might be able to just get that. Give me a second. Because I think if that was ga, it can be worth going over that as its own grammar point. Yeah. I can speed this up, I think. Whoop. Yes. Very interesting. Very interesting. Great. I hate these text boxes that just vanish. I might as well save state it, actually. Oh yeah, so ga at the end. So is just a noise. And then Daiyosei-sama ga. This is kind of often used when you're just surprised about something. You kind of just say the thing that you're surprised about and then say ga. And you don't really have to say what's happened. Often, like, people will kind of say this about parts of their body when they hurt. Or something, like maybe if your leg hurts, you might go ashiga, and that's kind of enough. It just, you know, it just communicates that your leg hurts or something, you know, and so it's quite I think very natural. You can sound quite native without even having to do much grammar, which is quite useful. So it's kind of why I wanted to go over that a little bit. All right, guys. Let's see. Wakamono yo. So this is just like young person, basically. Young person. Young one. And then yo is just kind of, because she's kind of addressing us. So you kind of have to put yo in this case, I think. Maybe. Like, had she just gone wakamono? I don't... It doesn't really sound like it's trying to get our attention for anything. It just sounds like she's saying a noun. But because she's saying wakamono yo, it kind of adds emphasis to it and makes it clear that she's addressing us. I say she, they, probably. Watashi no negai wo kiite kudasai. Negai meaning wish, I think we've done this. Watashi no negai, so my wish. Kiite. That's the te form of to listen, and then kudasai, just kind of adding just kind of politeness to it, like please listen. I suppose kind of adding humility and politeness to it. Kudasai, kore wo kudasai, mite kudasai. Kite kudasai in this case. So yeah, just kind of a very standard kind of proper way to ask someone to do something is to do the te form and then kudasai. Quite simply. Kamen wo tsuketa staru kiddo ni bala bala ni sarete shimaimashita. So kamen meaning mask. Tsuketa is like the past tense of to attach. And staru kiddo, skull kid, right? We've got ni because it was by the skull kid that this passive verb was done. So by the skull kid, bara bara kind of means into like little pieces or not even little pieces, just into separate pieces. So if something is bara bara, it's like it has parts separated over a certain distance or whatever. And that's what these fairies are now. Obviously, they're all separated up. They're bara bara, bara bara. And yeah, bara bara ni sarete. That's the passive form of suru. So kind of means was. I was bara bara'd by the skull kid. Is probably a way to think of it. And we discussed in another part, someone said chatta, didn't they? I think it was tattle. Did she say hagure chatta? Hagure chatta was like, it's an undesirable or unexpected verb. You add like chatta to the verb to make it clear that it was unexpected or undesirable. But this is a more proper form. The standard form of it would be sarete shimau, and then the past tense verb form, would be sarete shimatta. But then she's kind of speaking to us with proper Japanese, so she's kind of saying sarete shimaimashita, which is, shimai being the stem of shimau. So sarete shimaimashita. And I suppose actually this bara bara and then ni with suru, it means that you make something to the state of this. Bara bara ni shita. Bara bara ni shita. I'm trying to think of another example of this kind of bara bara word. Does this bara bara act a bit like a nut adjective in this case then? Bara bara ni. This might have kind of become a bit of an adverb in this kind of case. Not entirely sure actually. Bara bara ni something something. Yeah, better not dwell on it too much, but essentially, yeah. Just, I was undesirably too, all like separated by the skull kid. Kind of was. I was made to be separated by the skull kid. Sketa, obviously in English we kind of say a skull kid wearing a mask, but this kind of is like a skull kid who had at that point donned a mask. It's like they had already completed the verb of attaching the mask to their face. So you use kind of past tense. A mask wore skull kid by, yeah. So that's kind of important to note in Japanese, is that you would kind of use the past tense of the verb to show that at the time the skull kid had already completed the verb of wearing the mask in this case. Cool. Okay, so machi de hagureteru yousei wo hitori tsukamaete kono yousei no izumi ni tsurete kite kudasai. So machi de, so kind of in the town. As I said before, de kind of allows a verb to happen at the location to which it's attached. So machi de hagureteru yousei. So as ties in with what Tattle said earlier, which was hagurechatta, wasn't it? I became separated from. And so hagureteru is, again, it's kind of present continuous. There should be an e in here. Hagurete iru yousei. So a fairy who is in the state of being separated. And then wo, I haven't really gone over the particles much, have I? This is a direct object particle. Wo, which just means that the verb is done directly to the thing that it's attached to. So yeah, hitori, so just like one. Just kind of the amount of fairies, basically. One, a single fairy. One person. One person. Hitori. Tsukamaete, like kind of capture, I suppose, or yeah, capture. Or kind of grip or grasp or arrest. Lots of different meanings, but yeah, tsukamaete, kind of get or capture the single fairy who is in a state of being separated. And then kono yousei no izumi ni, to this fairy's fountain, tsurete kite kudasai. Tsurete, like kind of lead, and then kite, come, and then kudasai, just making it into a quite a polite and proper request. Yeah, cool. I've no doubt that fairy is going to talk to me for ages. Oh, wait. She's not even here, is she? Oh. So here we just, again, clock town higashi, just meaning east. Higashi. Yeah, she's not here yet, right? When does she come here then? Is it like day 2 or night time or? Oops, no. Okay, I might just get this fairy and then stop, actually. Okay, then. I missed that. Let me just leave and... I think it was, what, Sentaku? Sentaku Joel? I think it's like Sentaku But. Is it? Sentaku Joel? Well, the first one here is just to wash. Sen. And then taku, I believe, is... I think they're kind of usually just used together, sen taku, and it kind of means laundry. Sen taku. Yeah, washing or laundry. And then this, I don't know if this is Joel or but. I'm going to assume Joel, actually. Sen taku Joel. And a Joel is just something where... It's just a place where something happens, I suppose. It's like an arena of laundry. Or the stage or the place of laundry. Or plaza of laundry. You know, it just kind of has this kind of place vibe to it. So yeah, that's kind of all that's going on, really. Oh, so we've got like the same text box here, so I could have just come here. So, watashi no nagai wo kiite kudasai. Kamen wo tsuketa staru kiddo ni barabara ni sarete shimaimashita. Oh, dou ka watashi wo kuro Clocktown Kita no Yosei no Izumi ni modoshite kudasai. So do meaning like how or in what way, and then cut kind of adding sort of a question to it to make it mean, I suppose, in some way. Watashi wo, there's that direct object particle again, so the verb is going to be done directly to I, or her in this case. So somehow me, Clocktown North's fairies fountain, 2, and then modosu meaning to like take or put something back. So modoshite kudasai. Yeah, just, take or put me back in the fairies fountain in Clocktown North. Whoops. There's cafe. Alright, mate. Yeah, so I'll just go back to North Clocktown, and then I think I'll leave this part there. Should probably dump this money in the bank. We'll get onto that. Maybe we'll do the bank and stuff next time. Depends how much time all these other text boxes take. But yeah, cool. That's that then. Thanks for watching. Hope it's been worthwhile, and I will see you next time.